Hey, this is Hardline at Structoid's Video Game News Podcast. My name is Jordan DeVore, and I got Brett Makedonsky with me here,
Hey everyone.
and Steven Hansen,
Ciao, amiche.
and our producer Bill Zucker, as always.
Yo, what up? Except I'm talking this time.
Yes, finally,
But
finally.
but you're not going to see him this time.
No, they'll see me. You just can't see me.
Oh, okay.
God, I explained
So-
this to you for like 5 minutes, bro.
You did, but
No, I explained it to
was
Brett
also
before you guys even
confused.
showed up. The audience can see me. Hi, audience.
We have no idea what you're doing, so this is
Well, the listeners can't
Challenging.
see you.
Well, listeners can only see Steven.
The listeners can't see anyone.
some people can see him, some can't.
'Cause they're
Okay.
listening on a podcast.
It's like colorblindness.
Or regular blindness.
Just want to point out that Brett has baseball on in the background, and I'm not okay with that.
Is that distracting?
It's,
Did you hear the Giants in the 14th inning beat the Phillies 9-5? Over 500 pitches were thrown. The game lasted 6 hours.
That July baseball.
Is that a lot?
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay.
Well, now I'm just gonna watch baseball while we do this. So
Do you want
Awesome.
do you want me to shut that off?
no, it's better this way.
No, I'm watching.
So, I mean, the major news this week is we had a pair of EA delays, which is, I mean, one would have been kind of unusual for them, I feel like, but two, and they're both fairly high profile. So, Battlefield Hardline and Dragon Age Inquisition got delayed. Hardline's now in 2015, and Dragon Age is November 18th. So, good.
What was Dragon Age supposed to be?
They were both October.
Well, that's like,
October is crazy. I don't know if you've looked at a
yeah,
calendar.
no, it's insane. October has so many video games coming out. It's disgusting.
Yeah, so Dragon Age was probably just a timing thing, but Battlefield, they've got to be doing some major reworking on that.
Yeah, so they kind of outlined a few things. They said they want to take more ideas for multiplayer from the community, which is like, shouldn't you have your own ideas? But I guess I can appreciate where they're coming from. And then they want to have a polish the single player. And again, it's like, I kind of wish there wasn't a single player in these games.
They want to contract us to do the multiplayer commentary tracks.
You know, they really shouldn't be messing with a single player. This is not going to end up well. It's going to be some, bullshit war on crime.
It's- I can only-
bad thing.
They describe, okay, so they said they want to have new features and support a deeper, quote, crime revenge story experience, which is just like,
don't
the
do
language
that.
they've been using for this game is very strange to me.
It's a little bit terrifying if you actually stop to think about it. It's really just gross.
Yeah, they keep talking about this like cops and robbers fantasy.
They
I
keep
don't
using
know.
word
It's just-
fantasy, don't they?
It's
keep
just a
saying
weird. I see what they're saying in that, like, if you've seen, I guess, a heist movie, you're like, wow, that's cool. That would be cool to do in a game, maybe. But just the specific wording is not the greatest. I feel like.
I mean, just reinforcing the war on whatever with their first marketing with it was like the war on crime, and just reinforcing that bullshit is bad. I mean, the war on drugs, the war on terror, it's all a fucking load. So
I didn't read any of that stuff, but just from the trailer that was leaked and they showed the single player stuff, it reminded me of like Driver San Francisco's story, where it's like it's like actually like a TV show, and so that looks fun. But if they're gonna try to make it all dark and gritty, they can just throw that shit out a window.
I feel like the single player is kind of used to justify the fact that they're going to charge
Charge full
$60 for it. You saw the press that Titanfall ran into, and not only the press, but the consumer reaction that Titanfall's multiplayer only, it shouldn't cost $60. So, a few years ago, we were at the point where everyone was tacking on multiplayer to their single player, and now it's like everyone's tacking on single player to their multiplayer. It's dumb. It's just dumb.
I wish it could be, one or the other. I don't know why they have to feel so compelled. But the funny thing with this specific game, Hardline, is that, at least for me, playing the little bit of the beta I played, they really need to do a lot to justify that price tag, because it seemed like it could have just been an expansion to Battlefield 4. from what was there. So maybe the delay will help them flesh out the game, but
Well,
I,
it's
I
after Battlefield 4. It's also nice to see EA take a Battlefield game and delay it until it should actually come out.
Hopefully.
this is a real cynical point of view that I have, but I honestly think that it got delayed not to make the game better, but because the fall is so ridiculously packed that they knew it would just sell better in March or whenever it is, and there's
going
not nearly as much to go up against.
going a step further, you could argue that it's a way for them to buy more time for Battlefield 4 to sell extra DLC. Because I'm pretty sure they're still going,
I still can't
Going with
believe
that.
that. How they're like, oh yeah, our game was a total mess and it still kind of doesn't work and we're really sorry. Do you want to buy more of it? No, I don't want to fucking buy more of your broken ass game. Get that out of here. What are you doing? And yeah, they'll probably still milk a few more DLCs out of that.
Battlefield 3 more or less worked, at least when I got to it, and even then I didn't want to buy their DLCs. So yeah, I definitely don't have any intention to get the add-ons. But
I feel like EA did. Well, this sentence isn't gonna go over well, but I feel like they did a really good job with Mass Effect 3 in that.
in what way?
In that they released it in either March or April, and it was just like the talk of the town for however long. Whereas you release in October up against 15 other games, and you get 1/15 of the press and 1/15 the consumer reaction, but.
They released Mass Effect 3 over GDC, and everyone
did,
that was at GDC and like, well, I wish I was home playing Mass Effect
That
3.
was okay. So I drove down from Portland to San Francisco for GDC, and I stayed with Tara Long, formerly of Destructoid, now at Vision 3, and we were at her house. And I can't remember who was reviewing Mass Effect 3 at the time, but someone that was
Conrad,
staying with us was. What was that, Brett?
I think it was Conrad that reviewed it.
Yeah, it might have been Conrad Zimmerman. And I was just like, so we drove overnight instead of sleeping for some reason. So I'd be like taking a nap, waking up for 5 seconds, like, oh, there's Reapers, fall back asleep. It was so bizarre.
Yeah, I was working at GameStop in downtown San Francisco at that time.
Oh,
so
God.
that whole week there were people from GDC just coming in like, I need to buy Mass Effect so I can play it when I get home. Like they were so sad about it. Stupid.
I was just going to say really quickly, and I know people say this actually kind of surprisingly a lot, but speaking of like good multiplayer, that game had pretty good multiplayer.
It did. I had a good time with that multiplayer with some friends for quite a while, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought into the campaign to raise your war readiness or whatever it was for the single
It
player
really
campaign.
wasn't that big a deal from what I remember, right?
I wanted to be at 100% though,
Yeah.
and I was.
Try hard.
And then, so Dragon Age Inquisition, I feel like that one, there's not as much to say about that. I mean, like more polished time, I guess, if they want.
Yeah, I believe that one probably is more polished time. That one kind of falls into the whole Mass Effect thing, where they're like finishing a story. They're going to have their very dedicated fans buy that game. It's not niche necessarily, but it kind of isn't what everything else is that's releasing in the fall.
That one can stand on its own, despite
Yeah.
the heavy release schedule.
I feel like a lot of people are going to buy that game just because they're waiting for Witcher 3.
Yeah, good for Dragon Age.
Yeah, because it's like, well, Witcher 3's not out for a while. I'm going to play something kind of like it. So they'll probably be riding that wave too. Fucking Steven.
I was
Just looking at
marveling
Steven's face.
Steven too. That's why I was laughing.
We should take Steven's camera away from him.
Steven looks like a model for Ambien.
Oh, great. Destiny, I'm not playing that. I hope some of you are. We were going to talk about that.
I played a little bit of it, and Peter Dinklage's voice acting is so bad.
Even with the new, like, weird alteration.
So, well, what I find hilariously stupid is they took out that wizard came from the moon line,
They
apparently.
did, yeah.
And it's like, you guys made t-shirts out of that. Like, everyone was talking about that. Why would you take that out?
The thing about that line is, I didn't play the alpha or whatever people heard that from. So I saw those shirts and I was like, "What in the hell is this?" I do not get it. And then I was like, "Oh, they literally said this in the game. Who wrote that?"
Yeah, so I was playing just the beginning of the beta, and Peter Dinklage he's basically 343 Guilty Spark, and he wakes you up and he starts taking you on this planet, and like the delivery is terrible, and at one point he's just like, "We're going to die here." It's like, what the fuck is happening? This is great.
But it sounds like people are into the game now, whereas people seemed really skeptical, I guess, because of the way Bungie was marketing it, which is like a really slow trickle of information. But I'm hearing pretty decent impressions from some people.
Well, we're in such a weird area in games now where it's like, here is the alpha build of a video game that we're also using as a promotional device, and it's like, people, when you promote an alpha, people don't realize that it's not going to be anywhere near complete, so they're going to judge it based on what they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this weird thing where alphas become demos, and then there's all this confusion about why it sucks.
Brett, you look like you have to say
It's
something.
in like September or something, so it's probably near complete.
Well, I've been hearing that. Yeah, that's true, and also it sounds like it's pretty well polished as a game overall.
Well, that's the other thing. Is like, what's an alpha or a beta?
There's no assassinations, which people are upset about, because that was the big thing in Halo. If you go up behind someone, you get an assassination. Now you just thump them like normal. That's kind of lame.
I'm sure it'll show up.
As far as alphas and betas go, internally versus externally at a studio, I assume, unless it's a closed alpha that can't be reported on in any way like Evolve is doing, that it's probably just a marketing gimmick. Titanfall's beta was a promotional tool. Destiny's
it's
pre-order.
Their server stress tests more than anything.
Yeah,
that's
true.
as much as I'll give them. But yeah, it's basically like, buy this other game so you can play this game early, and then people who are going to buy that other game or who don't buy a lot of games are like, oh sure, I'll buy that game anyways, and then play this game, whatever.
I agree that it's that they probably do use the information from the server stress test, but I think that more than anything they use it to raise hype and get everyone talking on Twitter about their game. For me, it backfired with Titanfall, because I played the Titanfall beta for like 4 hours. I was like, I've played enough of this game. I'm done.
Yeah, that's like the problem with using this shit promotionally, and the same thing with like early access games. And it's like, cool, so you've got people who are spending as much time as they're going to spend playing your game, playing an inferior version for free or cheap.
Yeah, I tried and failed to write something about early access, like a general thing about that exact thing where I just couldn't get it together. But I experienced that really badly with Rust, and only recently went back to that game, and they're finally starting to maybe get that game finished. I don't know. They like overhauled it completely, but yeah, I early access is just not for me.
I just want to buy a video game. Like, you can't just buy a video game anymore. Either it's early, or you have to get all this DLC, or it's like, can I just buy some shit in a box and have it?
No.
Well, it's like that Batman thing that went up today, where GameStop exclusive pre-order DLC, play as the Red Hood, and if you pre-order, you play as Harley, and like it's this insane balkanization of games, and just breaking it up bit by bit, and then putting it all together for a Game of the Year edition, and all this bullshit. And I don't remember the last time I pre-ordered a game. It's been years. Like, I don't buy DLC. I'm like, whatever you put on that disc is what I'm going to play, and that's what I'm going to form my opinion of the game on, because I'm not going to waste money on this bullshit.
You know what you should get for a pre-order? You should get a fucking keychain or a whistle or some shit. Like,
CD or
yeah. Like
I always
physical.
liked those games where it's like the first run copies come with. I feel like a lot of Japanese import games do this well, where it's like it's just by buying the game the first run, you get some cool bonus.
Yeah,
Persona
Q, upcoming 3DS RPG. You just buy the regular game, and you get those cards, and then they also have a premium edition which has a bunch of other extras. But yeah, no, I mean, throw some cool shit in with the thing, or weird physical pre-order bonuses. I still have that Rayquaza tin from Pokemon Emerald. That's where I keep Pokemon games. Game Boy games.
Going back to the Destiny beta, I have it downloading on my Xbox One right now. Is it worth firing up, Bill?
I mean, so I didn't get to play that much of it, but the controls seem good enough, and like it's really pretty, and it's like people are saying that it's like Halo mixed with Borderlands, but I'm kind of feeling more like Halo mixed with Mass Effect or something. And I mean, I think like at the very worst, Destiny is going to be a game worth buying and playing. It may not be like the best thing ever, but it's definitely solid so far.
I still don't really grasp what the multiplayer component is for this game.
Yeah,
I guess I just haven't seen enough footage or really looked into it enough.
As far as I know, it's just one of those fucking always online games, and I hate that because it's like
Okay.
Like I was playing it with Max, and like I needed to ask Max something, and so he went to pause it, and then he starts getting killed because you can't pause in an online game.
Who is he getting killed by? AI or
It was
other?
AI.
Okay.
I don't know about like any competitive stuff yet. I'm not even sure if that's in there, but
I think there's competitive multiplayer, but
I'm
Maybe
sure
not
there
the
will
alpha.
be. Not in the beta, I don't think. But yeah, it's like
yeah.
I don't want to have to see people unless I'm trying to see people. I want to pause my game and eat a sandwich. Like let me play offline. I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
What else do you hate, Bill?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Something about The Last of Us 2?
The Last of Us 2 and how they might make that. I hope that if they do make a Last of Us 2, it's a totally separate story.
And I hope it doesn't come anytime soon if they do it.
Yeah, like if you want to see Joel and Ellie, make more DLC for the first one, but if you're gonna make a sequel, like make it two totally different people or something like that.
I'm really into the idea of them just having The Last of Us be a standalone solitary game, which I mean I guess they've already done DLC, so they've already expanded on it. Apparently the DLC is good, but again, I'm not buying DLC. But I don't know, just
do GameStop exclusive DLC.
the way that they're framing it, like someone saying from Naughty Dog that it would be a disservice to the fans not to consider making a sequel. Well, like no, it's gonna make you a lot of money. Like this is not like this altruistic thing you're doing, but also like can we just like once have a game that is just it's complete. It's like let to sit. I mean. Yeah, you could do tons of different things in this world, whatever. But like, do we have to? I don't know. It's just kind of
the way I always fall on this sort of thing is like they could, but they could also be doing a whole different world. So why not always lean towards that direction?
Yeah, and like, earlier in the year they were like, chances of a Last of Us sequel are like 50-50, and we're also considering a completely new game, and like. Every time I'm gonna go, new game, like do that.
I mean, how often does a fresh IP that's like Game of the Year not get some sort of follow-up? I mean, the movie industry does it too. Don't you remember Citizen Kane Revelations?
Do you remember Ghostbusters 2?
Oh.
I have heard of that one.
Aliens. They just can't let shit die, man.
A lot of people.
Have you
like
watched Terminator 2 recently? Terminator 2, not a good movie.
Whoa!
The thing with aliens, though, is that maybe they can do an alien situation where they just go in a completely different direction with the universe. I would maybe be down for that.
Okay, first off, Aliens was great, and then they ran it into the ground after that. Second off, Terminator 2 is one of the best movies ever made.
It's funny.
I will throw you. I will throw you off a cliff, Steven Hansen.
Known for being hysterical.
Also, like, why would you pick on Terminator 2 when there's Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation?
Salvation for 3 was watchable, at least.
That was just goofy and stupid.
Salvation though.
God. 2 is pretty goofy.
You remember when Salvation got a video game?
Oh,
Did anyone play
I do. Who made that? Was it like I always forget who made that.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Ass Turd Studios.
Probably a studio that's not around anymore because they made Terminator Salvation. That's bad.
It was. Oh, actually, it was Naughty Dog. I'm seeing here on Wikipedia.
That was their new IP, Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, actually, instead of The Last of Us 2, they're just gonna make Terminator Salvation 2.
Oh man.
Going back to The Last of Us though, I don't think that they got to do Uncharted first, right? Like, that's got to be
But-
their next thing.
Well, the team that did The Last of Us, the writer, creative director, and all that are on Uncharted 4 now.
Yeah.
After some switcheroos and people being at places. So, yeah, I mean, unless they put someone else on it, which would be weird, but
Well, they could
not
start.
surprising.
I feel like they could. I feel like that's a big enough studio where they could at least do early production on another game while also doing Uncharted
Yeah, but to
and
have,
overlap them.
to have the like main creative directive forces behind it not like all in on from the beginning, it doesn't make sense to me. Like the writer, I don't know, maybe they have time to
Maybe they're that
write
good.
another game while they're writing Uncharted.
Yeah,
I feel like more studios should do kind of what Rockstar does, where it's like we'll make one game at a time. It'll take as long as it takes. It'll be great, and everyone will buy it.
we'll employ like a tenth of the world's population to make it.
And it'll take 7 years, but it'll sell better than Air.
And we won't let them sleep.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe they
And
don't
their
take that
wives will
part.
complain. Yeah, yeah. Game development.
It's amazing how much human suffering is caused by video games.
Sure.
It's so stupid.
Well, I think on that note, on the human suffering note, that'll do it for us for this week. Thanks for listening. You can hear an audio-only version of this podcast if you want on iTunes. If you search for Destructoid Hardline, you can watch more cool videos, some starring Bill Zoker, on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/dtoid. The things we talked about today are on Destructoid.com.
You can
you
find
want-
Steven Hansen if you open a magazine and find the Ambient ad.
Steven's in the new Tiger Beat. It's like a 14-page spread.
He's the lol whatever hot boy of the month.
4 months in a row.
4 months in a row.
Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry.